did another video earlier today, which I called The Shot. This is the chaser. But whereas a normal chaser is something that soothes the burn of the alcohol that you've just consumed, makes it go down a bit smoother, in this case, not so much. Think of it more of as a secondary shot of the roughest ouzo you've ever consumed. I'm going to show you some of the posts that I see scroll by on my Facebook. My Facebook feed is a lot less curated than my TweetDeck feed and has a lot of normal people in it. Not a lot of out-and-out bigots. I resist the urge as much as possible to just block and delete people because I want to prick the bubbles of their prejudice and their echo chambers now and again, but some of this might be a bit hard for some of you to stomach. I do not necessarily agree with any of the views being expressed. Rather, these are examples of how the progressive left, the pseudo-left, the social justice warriors are failing to get their message across to normal people. I don't know how well you can see, but this is a big image of a man, black man, holding up a sign that says, "Dear white people, thanks for marching, but somebody still has to pay for the crimes of your ancestors." And the reaction from the poster is, "Typical brain-dead scum." Put yourself in the shoes of the person reacting to that image. What they see is a demand that they pay for something they never did. That someone who never suffered under slavery is asking for compensation from someone who never owned a slave. On a sheer gut reactive level, that feels manifestly unfair, even racist. And so you get these rather strenuous reactions to the mere suggestion. This is a form of original sin. There's a reason we don't hold the son accountable for the misdeeds of the father. It doesn't carry over. And you could say at a societal level, perhaps America as a whole profited from slavery in the past and so on. It's a bit of a slippery slope, but demanding reparations is just about guaranteed to turn people against you. They never owned slaves. Why should they have to pay money to people who never were slaves? Yeah, it's comprehensible, it's understandable. Here we have another meme post. I don't know why it's got, I think, Denzel Washington on it, but it does. And it says, "This is how you stop racism." And then it says, "An innocent black man was murdered by a corrupt white cop," and then crosses out black and white. So the sentence becomes, "An innocent man was murdered by a corrupt cop." And this is colorblindness, right? Where race doesn't come into it. And that used to be the goal. That used to be what everyone said that they were aiming for, where everyone was treated the same, where race made no difference, didn't matter. Current activism seems to be going entirely against that. But a lot of people grew up with that idea, and it is indeed a laudable goal and where we should eventually end up, with everyone being treated equally, right? So when people post things like this, they're not trying to minimize the black experience, they're not hostile to black people, they're trying to say, yes, everyone should be treated the same. But when you react with hostility to this kind of thing, or to all lives matter, which most people don't understand to be a dog whistle, you're pushing people in the opposite direction. Yeah, people posting this kind of thing are completely innocent, uninitiated into the depths of political discourse online, and they're expressing a laudable position that everyone should be treated equally, regardless of race, that race shouldn't even come into it. This one might seem a little out of place. It's someone posting yet another meme which says, "Let me get this straight, I'm paying taxes on my wages, then paying sales tax to spend my own money, then paying income tax on money that was already taxed, and when I die my kids pay the death tax on my money that was already taxed." So presenting taxation in the worst possible light and reiterating the common sentiment that taxation is theft, which of course it isn't. It's part of the social contract. We all benefit from what taxation is spent on. At least when we have decent governments in power, we do. But it does relate, because so much of what social justice and so on is pushing for ends up being governmental programs, social investment, different priorities in spending. So you have to communicate the positive sides, and to reach people like this you have to demonstrate how they benefit from what they're paying in taxes, how this is the often more efficient way to go about things. Take healthcare, for example. Most countries pay a much lower premium for a much more effective healthcare system than the US has, and it drives down the cost of private healthcare. So you can make that fiscal argument to them in a way that just sort of suggesting to them that you're just going to hand money out to poor people, that won't convince them. So you have to show them how they benefit. You have to show what taxation does to them and how they benefit from it. I've chosen this one because it's kind of representative of a great deal of the whole statue issue, because different statues mean different things to different people. When we erect a statue to someone who's a hero, we may not be taking into account their entire past, and you have to understand what other people understand by a statue in order to understand the outrage and defensiveness and all the rest of it. Gandhi was a racist. He was probably also a bit of a pedo. So the Jimmy Savile of Indian independence. I really wish Nero had been in charge rather than Gandhi. But most people don't know that about Gandhi. When they hear about Gandhi, they see a model of peaceful protest, a saint of a man. And so this might be a lunatic fringe of a radical group saying that they want to remove Gandhi's statue, but it's emblematic of what we see around Churchill and Columbus and other statues. Most people think of Columbus as the guy that discovered America, and that's it. Most people see Churchill as the guy that won the Second World War for Britain. Right? They don't see the rest of it, they don't understand the rest of it, they don't know the rest of it. Those statues are an opportunity to educate those people on the nuance of these figures. You go to remove them, you're going to outrage free speech activists, you're going to outrage a lot of historians, and you're going to outrage people who do venerate whatever figure is being removed for whatever reason. And they may not agree with you that the bad things that the people did happened, or the defining moment of that person, or the meaning of the statue. So how on earth do you navigate that? This was a perfectly normal, otherwise sane and fluffy person sharing a Black Pigeon Speaks video. Black Pigeon Speaks is a pretty blatant racist who somehow manages to skirt the rules on YouTube one way or another. But this was a normal person, obviously, apparently agreeing with the content, or at least the first couple of minutes of content of the video, which paints BLM and Antifa as the same thing, and the looting and the burning and the destruction, conflating that with the more peaceful protests. Because there's an image problem. Some of that's the media, yeah, sure, they'll be more attracted to the instances of looting and destruction and so forth. Antifa, to a great many people, myself included, it's more than just anti-fascism. They have various manifestos and so on out there that ask for a hell of a lot more than that. That's why I don't feel I can be on board with Antifa, even though I would class myself as being anti-fascist, anti-totalitarian, anti-authoritarian. Normal people see the destruction and the looting, and I don't think there's anything you can really do to stop that. Some of that's the news media's fault, sure, but some of it is also fed by the people doing this. And if you really want to affect change, you need to convince normal people. You're failing to communicate with them, you're excusing rioting and looting and damage and so on, while the right is having a field day saying, look, things are out of hand. And you can't exactly say they're wrong. And it's very convincing to normal people. This is representative of something that I see all the time in my feed from normies. Many people express the idea that all lives matter, or in this case, white lives matter too. They don't know that this is supposedly a far-right dog whistle or supposedly anti-black. What they're expressing when they say that is that everybody's life should matter equally, including black lives. It is a far better, far more effective message. It encourages empathy and compassion. It's asking for equality, which is an easy sell, in a way in which Black Lives Matter isn't, because it implicitly says everyone's racist and the black lives don't matter as much to them. Whatever you might think, most people don't think that about themselves or about the people around them. Every time someone seems to express this idea that all lives matter, in whatever form that expression takes, people jump down their throat, attack them, insult them, call them white supremacists, racists, all the rest of it. And to most people this is absolutely baffling and makes the people who claim to be activists, who are trying to get this change, it makes them appear to be absolute rabid lunatics, and costs a huge amount of support, no doubt. You'll find a lot of soccer moms and so on expressing the all lives matter idea, and it is a positive idea, and there's nothing actually inherently innately wrong with it as a phrase. It's only if you're deep into this stuff and you know that term has been used and abused as a dog whistle that you understand that. But to most people it's not a dog whistle. They're expressing a genuine sentiment. Something similar has happened around these "it's okay to be white" posters that have gone up in various places. Now, yeah, it's an op and partially a 4chan piss take, partially a genuinely white supremacist thing. But the sentiment in and of itself is fine. It is okay to be white and black and whatever else. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. That's obviously a catchy, effective message, but it works for the bad people, the bad actors, by enticing other people to attack it, which then turns normal people against those people who are attacking it because they appear to be utterly unhinged and irrational. Think twice before attacking people who express the idea that all lives matter, because you know what? They do. I'm going to wrap it up there for now. I hope the point is made that by using this rarefied academic language and redefinitions, by failing to use plain English, by failing to make a universalist message of equality, you are failing to get through to normal people. And while you're failing, the right and the far right is largely succeeding. Just be aware and do better activism. Zang.